Number 2, given a set of coordinates, students will be able to graph the slope of a line. 3, students will compare and describe the slope of 2 lines. 4, students will be able to explain how the problems created by the French and Indian War contributed to the cause of the American Revolution. And 5, students will write a paper describing the relationship among atoms and subatomic particles. Okay, so what I want you guys to talk about at your table is each one of those. Is that a learning target or an I can statement, or is it an activity? Huh? These are, here's the thing. In this worksheet, instead of saying I can produce, they say students will. So the thought is that they're saying each one of these is an I can statement. So my question is that an I can statement? If it started with I can instead of students will. Is that an I can statement or is that an activity? Okay? Just have those conversations. much physical activity I put into this lesson with everybody coming up to the screen. That was an engagement strategy, right? Okay, let's wrap up those conversations and let me hear from some of the tables what conversations took place. Because here's the hardest part for me, and we did this as principals on about 30 different situations, I guess Thursday. And the hardest part for me was we kept going, okay, so what's the answer? So, number 2, what's the answer? And they're like, there are no answers. It's the conversation that is the growth. Okay, that really bothers me. But it's the truth. Because the one thing we're going to find is when you're doing your I can statements, there are no right and wrong. Well, there are some right and wrong. But it's very, very likely that something could go both directions. Okay? What were some of the conversations at the table? Some aha moments or?
Well, no, I have to have some sort of answer. Is 1 in 5 absolutely wrong because they put a product in the I can statement? That would be an activity, right? It's a report and it's a paper. No, it's wrong. You're not going to get an answer.
Okay, so a question for us to focus on is, can an I can statement include a product? Because here's the other thing is the graph a product? Okay, so do we want to say if there's a product, it's not an I can statement? What if the state standard is a student will know how to create a book report?
Yeah, it changes it.
It changes it. What are some other conversations that came out? Okay?
We just kind of talked about the shift. I just said this is how they taught me in college, right? How to write an objective. Where we had all these requirements for objectives, right? And in the last 7 years, then we've made a shift from product-oriented things to learning-oriented objectives. So the shift towards what is the child learning and not what is the child producing is kind of the way I look at it. So that to me is an activity just because it's focused on the product, but it doesn't make it a valid statement what they're doing that day. It's just not oriented towards what's being learned.
Okay. Other tables or other groups?
We had our discussion on number 4. I think coming to a consensus that it was probably an I can statement, just because of, but we didn't know how they would explain it. So they might be doing it or verbally, they might be doing it in a paper, filling out a sentence frame or paragraph frame. That we thought it was probably an I can statement.
Okay.
With that conversation, we talked more about what is an I can statement and how we're defining the I can statement than really what we classified 1 through 5.
Didn't you say you'd rather I can do something that you achieve at the end of the class period, something they can show?
It's something that they can learn.
Long-term.
Something that they can learn by the end. So I know it or I don't know it.
Same thing that they were saying. One seems like a long-term product that we're doing, but at the end of each day, part of it should have been achieved.
Okay.
That's what asked for things I thought last year. Okay.
So we maybe look at the question on, do some of these show how we will assess an I can statement rather than what the I can statement is? This first one, students will produce a report on a book of their choice, including a table of contents with proper pagination and format throughout. If the state standard that we're trying to work on is students will know how to format a paper or will be able to utilize correct formatting, then this would be an activity. If it is students will be able to create a book report, or students will know the components of a book report, This could be an I can statement. So, how would you, here is the state standard. The students will be able to find the slope of a line using coordinates. Or are they trying to say the students will be able to graph a line using multiple ways? One of them, the graph would be a product. The other one, the graph would be the content, which is why it's very important to start with the unit. What's the final thing you're trying to get them to do? Does that make sense? Corey and I went through and we were doing walkthroughs yesterday, and we talked about this at the end of last year and the beginning of this year, that when we come through, or anytime there's a group of administrators that come through and do the walkthroughs, all we're doing is testing our realign. Here's his document, here's my document, where do they match? And the place that we did not match, the majority of the times, were on I can statements, because he would say, is that an I can statement, or is that a learning, or is that a product? Is that an activity? Okay? So I'm going to give some examples to you guys real quick, and I want you to kind of, and I asked permission for one of them, because one of them it's awful hard to tell which class it came out of. But an I can statement is, I can sing the words to the school song. Would that be activity, or I can?
Will we know this if we don't know what the district's goals are? Like if the district, like what you're saying, like if the district's goals for the writing report, then that's an okay thing to put as I can. If the district's goal is that students can all sing their, what I'm saying, but that's relevant to know.
Yes. Which is why we say let's start out with letting us know what unit goal we're trying to get to, but there's not a district or a state goal talking about school song. So that was an awesome lesson and a great lesson in the activity. And the instruction that took place with it being in there was on rhythm and on pitch. Is that what? Okay. And a lot, I know nothing about music, as you can tell. A lot of instruction on proper everything. Okay? So, I knew that lesson, you know what this means, right? I knew that lesson was definitely hitting 3 different state standards. Now, there would not be any negativity with any of these I can statements. Okay? It's just each time with growth mindset, each time we're learning one more thing to kind of think about. Not a thing, oh my God, I got to go back now and look at all the I can statements that I've done and find out which ones are activities. No. Just something as you're going through to say, wait a minute. So one of them came up, I can measure using a millimeter ruler. Activity or standard? Or I can? It's an I can, as long as the state standard that we're dealing with is using tools. But if it's describing how measurement is used, that's an activity. Okay? So what I want you to see is there's a reason why we're asking for all pieces of the picture. Okay? And one reason why we're saying don't start doing I cans until you first really focus in on that unit. What are we wanting to do? Anyway, we did this as principals, and it was new learning for us and also frustrating learning for us.
So I have a question. So in civics, we don't have a product anywhere in our standards.
Hey, Charlie, where you at?
No specific product. So couldn't.
What you need?
But couldn't.
Just want to talk to you.
No product in our I can't statement as a measure of a true I can't statement, as long as it doesn't contain. If you have a curriculum that does not include an actual product. then
Your
that's-
curriculum should not include products.
Right, but
Yeah.
that was the thing that made that one an I can statement that they required to do.
No. The activities have a product. Creating a book report is a product. That's an activity to show that you know page format.
But what I'm saying is, not including a product from that day would be a way to measure, to create those IPN statements without putting in what you're actually doing at that day. What Renee was talking about, verbally, non-verbally, on paper, assessment, like not including that in the IPN statement, but their goal of what they're supposed to learn.
So their assessment tool, their ticket out the door or whatever to show did they learn it or not learn it,
Right.
will probably be a product. That will probably be an activity. Let me go a little farther and see, okay? And again, right now, guys, listen, what is and I didn't move them up here because I got them here. This is still our same unit goal, okay, DQ1, nothing's changed there. Our learning target right now is still providing learning goals and learning targets. So how we're measuring them, things like that, is not even something we're expected to have mastered yet. Okay? We're just thinking it through. We're having conversations in our head as we're creating them. Today, we're going to talk about not embedding goals and targets in a performance scale, but we're going to be talking about some background knowledge that you're going to need for performance scales. And that background knowledge is learning differences and cultural proficiencies. So what we're doing today, how it ties in, is we're going to start talking about learning differences and cultural proficiencies as it applies to ELL students. And so still, at the end of today, you're still only going to be able to be at a 2. But I'm giving you some background knowledge on these two definitions, because if students don't know the definitions and the scales, it doesn't even do any good to have it up there. Okay? And when we talked about the 6 things that we're focusing on, today we're talking about instructional framework, SIOP, and cultural proficiency. Those are all the same from the year. And we're looking at understanding students' interest and background, so DQ8. Again, not mastery to DQ8, but this would go into understanding students' backgrounds. We're going to have word wall, and that's going to be part of what Quinn does, but the words that we're going to need today, and you'll notice that they're up here. You've got your vocabulary. She's going to go more into that in a minute. Okay. What I want you to do, though, well, and you don't have to do it now, but what I did was in the PD folder, I included my lesson plan for today's PD. Okay? Following the criteria that we talked about on Monday. And the only reason I did that was because I want you to see how basic it is that we're requesting. Okay, so if I took the criteria from Monday and took today's lesson and just showed you what stuff we're looking for. The only thing that I realized I didn't put on there is after each of the activities, which champs I would use. So whether it be whole group, individual, or partner. So at the end of each of my activities, it would have a W or a P or a I. Okay? So at some time, if you're still questioning the lesson plan stuff, look at that and see that is a visual for people who want yet another example. Okay. Quinn.
Okay, so these are the words that, and you're going to look at some of them and be like, yes, of course, I know what that means. But, and if I haven't met you yet, Quinn did this ELL SIOP functions. That's me. So these are the words that we need to know in order to be successful today in what we're going to be talking about. And I'm going to show them to you in a way that you can front-load vocabulary in your own classroom. It's called Rule 3, and the ELL teachers I have already or will be trained in this too quickly, but so I'm going to show it to you as well, and if you want to see more of it, let me know, and I can come in and model it for your class with a lesson. So the words that we're going to look at today, keeping in mind it's ELL brain, are beginning, intermediate, advanced, the IL, the composite level language skills. Now you probably know what they all mean, but just bear with me as you see how this looks. The first thing you need to do is you need to grab a partner next to you. And one of you needs to be partner A, and one of you needs to be partner B, so you can discuss that as well. All right, got it? Okay, so these are the words we're going to front load. Again, there's a specific way that we like to choose which words we're going to front load. And for ELL, a lot of, in the ELL classroom, what we like to front load are the tier 2 words. These are across the entire academic spectrum here. So words that you will see in math, in science, in social studies, all across the board. Tier 3 words, which you are also probably familiar with, are your content-specific words. Photosynthesis, exponent, integers, okay? So, what I've picked here are not necessarily any of those, but it's just what we need for today. Oh, one more. Also, we really like to pre-teach multiple meaning words, because that way you can expose an ELL to as many meanings. They learn a lot more words with one, mathematically you learn a bunch of meanings with one word and it sticks. So, here's how it works. This is my favorite vocabulary strategy, and I hope you guys like it too. So, here we go. Ready? Just follow along. Okay, put your hand in the air if you've ever heard of the word beginning. Who's heard of the word? Keep your hand in the air if you can tell me and all of your friends what the word beginning means. Okay, I'm still learning names, but I'm going to give it my best friend, right? Okay, what is beginning? What's something you know about the word beginning? Anything.
Start.
Okay, a start. Anything else? Who else knows something or can make it, even like you can, from a beginning ELL, you could like accept gestures, works too. Okay, who can tell me something about the word beginning? Yes, Tina.
Go on to a different level.
To go on, very good. So let's look at some pictures that can help us understand the word beginning. Okay, so now, we're keeping in mind, our PD for today. So what does a beginning student look like is kind of the route I went. So a beginning student can be somebody who just got to this country, right? A newcomer, brand new to the country. It's someone who's still trying to sort out 2 languages in their head. Beginning can also mean, in a general sense, the start of something, just like Brent told us. Okay, now you're going to see I'm going to use this picture a lot, and but you just have to pay attention to arrows. It's more more visuals to help them understand. So, beginning, right? A plant is beginning to bloom. So, repeat after me, class. Beginning.
Beginning.
Partner A, tell partner B what the word beginning means. Go. Hey, partner B, it's your turn. What does beginning mean? Go. Okay, back with me. Repeat after me. Beginning. Beginning. Very good. Put your hand in the air if you've heard of the word intermediate. What is intermediate? Keep your hand in the air if you can tell me and all of your classmates anything about the word intermediate. Easy.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't hear something.
Sorry.
The middle.
The middle. I like that a lot. Good. Anybody else got something for intermediate? Intermediate. Yes.
Still learning.
Still learning. Okay. And you can spend as much time on that as you want. It's a good gauge to see where students are at. You'll be surprised at how, you may think they will really know some words, and you may get answers that are completely off the wall or just blank stares. So it's a good gauge to see, okay, do we know what this word means? Anyway, okay, so intermediate. So again, here's that same picture. Intermediate, something in the middle. So you're in the middle of a progression of some kind. Intermediate colors, okay, so kind of in between. So you have yellow and green, and then you have yellow-green. And then also an intermediate student. So let's think about an ELL student who might be in the intermediate category. That might be a student, for example, who is very comfortable with social language. So before class, you see them yipping with their classmates. But then as soon as you put your bell ringer on the board and it's a written assignment of some kind, they may be a little frustrated. Okay, so that would be, for example, one example of what an intermediate student might look like. Class, repeat after me. Intermediate.
Intermediate.
Partner A, tell partner B everything you know about the word intermediate. 20 seconds, go.
It's in the middle.
Partner B, it's your turn. What's intermediate? Go. All right, repeat after me. Intermediate.
Intermediate.
very good. Anybody else want to add to Caitlin's comment? Yes, where somehow, but it's in your no, sorry, it's
Always call me advanced.
Is there not a student? That's not what we're calling.
All right, let's look at some pictures for the word advanced. Okay, so as you can see, our flowers are now advanced. They are in full bloom at the top or at the end of their progression. Okay, advanced like advanced technology. That's the Mars rover there. Okay, so that's advanced technology in today's world. An advanced speaker typically has a very good handle and can code switch, which means use both languages. Whenever they know they need to use each language, they can do that very well, typically. Also, an advanced ELL student is usually willing to answer in your classes, likes to be active and involved. And also, when you do put that writing prompt up there, you can usually, okay, go, let's do it. Okay? So, repeat after me. Advanced.
Advanced.
Partner A, tell partner B what advanced means. Go. Here's where I gauge really, because this is my first year and I'm not quite sure how familiar you are with this. My guess is some of you are very familiar, but now I get to see with this initial part here, how familiar are you with IELTS? So put your hand in the air if you have ever even just heard of the word or whatever that is, IELTS. Okay, keep your hand in the air if you feel comfortable explaining to your classmates what the IELTS could be. Mr. Burns.
It's like a test that says
Perfect. I might, just for time's sake, I'm going to keep going. All right, very good. So the IELTS is an ELL test. Anybody who has an ELL tag is going to take the IELTS, typically in March or April, sometime in there. It's a standardized test. It is mandated. It used to be, this could be new for you, it used to be paper and pencil. Or for example, the speaking was done one-on-one with a teacher. However, now, this year, starting this year, it's going to be computer-based. The ELDA will be on the computer. So, the ELDA gives you a score in the 4 parts of language: listening, speaking, reading, and writing. And we will talk more about how those are scored later. But so you get a score of 0 to 6. That is the scale. Every student gets a score in all 4 skills, and then a score we'll talk about later. Okay, so repeat after me. IELTS.
IELTS.
What does that stand for? You can...
Iowa.
Tina, what does it stand?
English language.
Very good. Iowa. It starts with Iowa. I think we usually just say ELDA. I always say ELDA, but anyway. Iowa English Language Diagnostic Assessment. Yes. Okay, partner A, tell partner B what IELTS means. Go. Or is.
That way you don't always have to run back over here. It's going to take a minute. It's going to take a minute.
Okay, that's fine. Repeat after me. IELTS. Very good. Put your hand in the air if you've heard of the word composite. Composite. Keep your hand in the air if you can explain what composite means. Mr. Gansky. Okay, accumulation. Very good. Anything else for composite?
Type of material you fill a tube with.
Very good. I don't have a picture for that, so nice work. Okay, so composite basically means putting pieces together to get a whole. Okay, pieces coming together to make a whole. So, think about composite decking. Have you ever heard of that? It's putting different pieces together to form a deck. There's also composite volcanoes, which is layers and layers of lava and ash to make a composite volcano. Okay, so again, pieces. And then you have a composite score on your IELTS. So that is taking, on that 0 to 6, because remember, each of these skills gets a 0 to 6 rank. You take those skills, mathematically put them together, and I'm not very good at math, so I use all threes. But, so all threes would average out to a 3, okay? And we're going to really spend some time talking about what each of those skills means for you and how you can differentiate your lessons for those kids who are on a range. Because let me tell you, not all ELDA scores are going to be nice like that. They're not going to be 3 across the board in most cases. Okay, we'll talk about that later. So repeat after me. Composite.
Composite.
Okay, partner A, tell partner B what composite means. Go. Partner B, what's composite? Sorry, I'm going fast. All right, repeat after me. Composite.
Composite.
Put your hand in the air if you've heard of the word level. Who can tell me anything about the word level? Okay, that is.
You use a level when you're trying to get something to be flat, so you put a level on it.
Very good. Very good. Anybody else got one for level? Yes. What do you have, Miss Windsor?
Level, when we're speaking of in terms of ELDA scores, they're given different levels. So, for example, if they have low levels, like 1 and 2s, we know we have different accommodations, like reading the test aloud to them. So levels will tell us accommodations.
Excellent. Very good. Look, I got you, Patty. There I am with this. Okay, so now level. This is what I was talking about with the multiple meaning words. And I like to use hand gestures, I guess, because whenever I have a multiple meaning word with kids, we always say, okay, so level is looking at the pictures, they'd say it's a multiple meaning word. So they know that that means that level has more than one meaning. So will you do it with me? Just humor me. So level is a multiple meaning word. Very good. I tell ELL kids that I modeled this with. I said, when you go around the hall like this, nobody's have any idea what you're talking about. It's like a silent.
Are you making an M?
Yeah, M. So, sorry, I should explain that. Multiple meaning word. So it means more than one thing. So, sorry, I should have explained it. Okay, so level. A level can be a tool or a device, like this level. You can level things out, as Patty was telling us. You have levels, like reading levels, ELDA levels, video game levels. They always recognize that one right away. And then leveling something out, like cement on a floor or a picture. Okay? And here's where you can talk about nouns versus verbs. So it's, yeah, you have to adhere to all of the meanings of a word when you have one like this. And then there again, there's your ELDA scores for you. So repeat after me. Level. Level. Partner A, tell partner B all the meanings of level. Go. Okay, partner B, what's level? Go.
Level is just the different scores that you get. Composite score.
Okay, repeat after me. Level. Level. Put your hand in the air if you've heard of the 4 language skills. Keep your hand in the air if you can tell us what the 4 language skills are. Miss Bus.
Reading, writing, speaking.
Boom, there you go. Nice work. Hey, reading, writing, speaking, listening, those are the 4 skills of language. As you all know from having worked with kids, they can vary greatly within one child. And those are the 4 skills that are tested on ELDA, as we talked about before. Okay, so repeat after me. The 4 language skills.
The 4 language skills.
Partner A, tell partner B what those are. Go.
Listen, speak.
Boom. Nice job. You got it. Okay, partner B, what are the 4 language skills? Go. Done. Okay, so that's your phase one of a front-loaded vocabulary strategy. It's very, very successful. We started doing it in Waterloo and saw huge, huge gains in our Iowa assessments. So if you have any interest in it, let me know. I'd be happy to talk about it with you or model it. So this is phase two. I'm not going to do it with you, but I'm just going to very, very briefly explain it. Every kid would have a paper that looks like this. It would also be like a personal dictionary, especially helpful for those ELL kids. Now, the ELL teachers who are front-loading content vocabulary for you, or tier 2 words, really, you should see these. If those teachers are using the rule of 3 strategy for your classes during ELL, you should say, if you have a word that you think you gave to a teacher, so if Whitney has come to you and said, give me some words, and you give them some words, or a passage of some kind or something, she'll pick out those words that she's going to front load to your ELL kids. So if they're reading that passage and you think you gave her words for that, say, where's your rule of 3 paper? That would be this, that they should have right next to them as they're reading that passage or doing that activity or listening to that lecture in which you will be using the words they're hearing. Okay, because here's what they're going to do. In the rehearse portion, that is where they're going to have the vocabulary words listed. Analyze is going to be, it can be whatever you want. You can look at parts of speech. You can label multiple meanings of words. You can look at prefixes, suffixes. You can look at syllables. There's a million different options. And then here in the produce section, this is where they have to take ownership of their own learning. So say for the word level, they can either write, and it's their choice, whoever's going to help them remember that word. They can either write a short description of what level means to them, or they can draw a picture. And for a lot of ELLs, they choose the picture. Okay? So you do it with them, and that's pretty much how it
One thing
works.
about that kind of stuff, though, is when they're front-loading words, they're not front-loading words like photosynthesis or prime and composite. They're front-loading words such as compare.
Yeah.
Solve may even be math specific, but words that are academic words that they're going to use no matter what class, because what we don't want is science to be teaching compare, math to be teaching compare, social studies to be teaching compare. That's a major tier 2 word. That's something that we would say, hey, ELL, can you help us out with that and make sure that they're getting support with that vocabulary in your
But if you see a lot of those tier 2 words in a passage you're giving, that would be a great example to go to your grade level ELL teacher and say, look at all these tier 2 words. They've got to know what these are in order to be successful. So please do with it what you will, and they can follow that for you.
Is this something that our ELL teachers are doing now?
Yes, I've modeled it. So it's up to them how they want to use it and do it, but yeah, they will. Okay, and then I think you're...
Okay, the next part is,
Oh,
So the strategy that you just did, would it work with the words?
yes. Yes. And it's also, I mean, it's an ELL strategy, but super beneficial for kids with IEPs, gen ed kids even. It's a good one.
What is the 3, the rule of 3?
There's 3 phases. So that was phase 1 I just did extensively with you. Phase 2 would be the written portion, that personal dictionary. Phase 3 is actually a spelling thing that takes a very, very short amount of time. It's kind of fun and just put on time.
One thing I would suggest as content teachers, if you can ask the kids, remind them and ask them to bring their dictionaries, because I've asked kids to, and they a lot of times misplace them and they don't have them with them. So if you don't see them, make sure you're making them aware, and you can make the ELL teachers aware too, and get them a new one.
here's the thing.
Yes, that's it.
The good news is, any of these strategies that you want to try, that is Quinn's job. That's her job. She's here 50% of the time, and 50% of the time she's in parochial schools. But she's here, so all you have to do is send her an email, stop her and say, I really want to know more about that. Can you come work with me? And that's her job. She will come in there and
this is just the way I do it. You can own it in whatever way you want. Some of this is adaptations I've made for myself. This is not Linda Ventriglia out of California is who actually invented this, but people make it their own. Even if you just want to use pieces of it, like I really like the interaction part, that part A, part B, I like that. You have to hold them accountable for speaking. Take that piece out. Take out just the personal dictionary, whatever works for you or you think you need in your class.
okay, one thing that that she talked about was the different levels, and we looked at the composite score when we're scheduling kids, okay? In the past, you could look on a schedule and it would say beginner ELL, intermediate ELL, or advanced ELL. This year, and I don't understand it, but it's done. This year, all students are in the same class, LA021, ELL language. So you can no longer look at the title to tell what class, what section of students are in. All you've got to do is email them. Here's the shortcut, but I do not expect you to remember. Here's the thing. If they're in a section number 0 to 10, so the beginning of the numbers are your beginners. If it's a section number in the 20s, that's our code district-wide that they're intermediate. And if they're in a section in the 40s, that's the district code that they're in advanced. Okay, so beginning of the numbers is beginning, in the middle, the 20s is the intermediates, the 40s are advanced.
Could we just get like an honest pulse on that now and try to understand, do people feel like they know where their students would be?
I got it.
We're gonna do it today.
Oh,
Before you leave here, you already, in your file folder, but I don't want you to open it yet, because that's not where we're focusing. In the PD thing, there is a folder that says ELL level, and it has by grade level. Here are your beginners, here are your intermediates, and here are your advanceds. Okay? And it's in there, and I will try to update it periodically, but you know how often kids come and go. But here's what I want you to see. Just because they're in intermediate, for instance, this is all the same student. I'm not going to tell you a student, but in order to find this detail, you go to Infinite Campus and you're going to go to the assessment tab. Okay? And then there's an assessment tab that says IELDA 2015. You're going to click on the plus. You guys know in Infinite Campus, anytime you click on the plus, that means there's more information there. Okay? This student, when I go to his proficiency level or his composite score, this student is a 3. So this student is placed somewhere in the intermediate. Thanks, okay? So we think, oh, okay, this kid's an intermediate.
There you go.
But then, I need more information from that. Now, we do not expect you to go do this for every one of your kids, but here's the same kid. When I click on S for speaking, his eldest score is a 5.
Out of 6, remember.
Out of 6. Go to the next one. When I click on writing, his eldest score is a 2. At your table, talk about what type of student you think that might be in your classrooms. Okay, let's come back to it. What were some conversations at your table? What kind of student might this be in class? Virginia?
A student that can talk in class and be annoying, but doesn't actually understand what they're trying to process through.
Okay. Okay, anybody else? No?
Well, it might be a student who can discuss and has a really great hold on what we're learning, but can't write it.
Okay.
They can't produce.
Okay.
That's like the majority of our students. They can speak and listen, but I don't care if they're ELO or not. Our students struggle with writing.
And I have to tell you, when we're scoring this, we're not supposed to keep in mind spelling. This is taking out spelling. Majority of what is scored in written IELDA is organizing thoughts, so having a paragraph be cohesive and the ideas flow and the same ideas be the same paragraph and content. It is not spelling, so take that out. Spelling doesn't even count. It's just the fluidity and the content that they're giving.
This brings to my mind a lot of the kids that we naturally assume are will kids. They'll talk it, they'll know it, and I have teachers who say quite often, not as much now, but especially at the beginning, there is no way that kid's ELL. He's just not doing it. He talks, he da-da-da, he can do it, he just won't do it. This very much might be a reason why they won't do it if what they're supposed to be doing is always writing. What if you go and 90% of your day you're having to do your 2 skill, and anytime you're trying to do your 5 skill, you're told to hush. Okay? The thing this student is best at is the thing that traditionally we have tried to subdue, and the thing he's worst at is the thing that traditionally means we're very good students. I don't think we did a reading thing. So anyway, when you start seeing an ELL student that's showing some of those things, this is how you go and look in more detail. Now again, you also can send an email anytime to your grade level ELL person, to Quinn or to myself, and we can do that for you. But that's something we want you to think through. Is it that they won't, or is it that this is really a weakness? Okay?
And some of them, you're going to say, okay, why don't they have an ELDA score? That's because they were new to the country and they didn't get here until after April. So at that point, you can assume that.
Or they were out of the country in March
yeah.
when we were testing.
Yeah.
And if you ask any ELL teacher what their Chinese classes are, it's always going to be your
Because that's what they do well.
That's what they do, yeah, exactly.
Okay. So, in your, I didn't finish. When we break up into groups, in that PD folder, you've got that list, and like I said, it says 6th graders, here are your beginners, here are your intermediates, here are your advanced. So that's who our students are. You're going to have a chance to look at that this afternoon still.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what we did was we got this document from the district, and it is a curriculum pacing guide. And we've broken it, they had a lot more levels, but we've put it down to the basic 3, which are the 3 classes that we have for ELL students, so beginning, intermediate, and advanced. So what you're going to see here, I know again it's very small, but it's okay, you're going to have it in front of you. With your content area, not by grades, you are going to get together and talk about your students and what they can do. So this first column says an ELL student can. So for example, I think this is beginning. It says it has a very limited set of strategies to identify a few words, phrases, a very typical behavior and comprehension of a beginning student. So the second column, the middle column, is going to tell you what kind of bodies of evidence can you use for a student like that. Because remember, it's very difficult to assess a beginning student the same way you would as an advanced student, let alone a Gen Ed kid. So you have to think about what kind of bodies of evidence can I use for a kid like that. And then the last column here is blank, because you're going to go in with your content area and you're going to talk about, okay, which students fit into this level. So I know that there's still lines here. Just make a list all the way down. It doesn't matter which kids are in which boxes. It's just knowing which kids go on which paper, okay? So all of your beginning ELL kids will go on your beginning paper, all of your intermediate on the intermediate paper, and the advanced kids on the advanced paper. And this is to help you see what can they actually do and how can I show what they can do. So you should have 4 pieces of paper. The beginning and intermediate is on front and back, and the advanced is a front and back, and a little tiny bit I could not squeeze onto 2 pages. So, you are also going to have an ELL teacher or Bedelia or myself with you to help you put those kids where they need to go, and we can have a discussion about, what can they do and how are we going to show that. So, what did we say? Do you guys remember the email I sent? I think I was science, Whitney's with math, Celesta is with social studies, and Bedelia is with wheels. Did you want to assign rooms?
You guys can go to different places in the library if you want, or you can go to different rooms. We're by content. Let's So here's our whole goal. Our goal is to have that conversation among content areas. Number one, but we're not necessarily by grade, because this isn't right now talking necessarily about the student. But, so here's all the social studies teachers getting together saying, oh my gosh, so I'm getting ready tomorrow to teach, what?
Steps to naturalization.
The steps to naturalization. I'm going to tell you that a lot of your ELL kids are going to know that. There's going to be background information there. But, yes, but we're going to say, okay, maybe I've got a class with 8 beginners in there. What can I expect them to be able to do? And this chart's there to give you some ideas. Your colleagues there to give you some ideas. And there's somebody with knowledge about ELL to be able to give you ideas. The people who are there with knowledge about ELL are not specialists. They don't have all the answers. But they're there to help you guide some conversations and to brainstorm. Okay? So here's the ticket out the door. By 3:15, but then again, there's a little disclaimer down here that says, if you do not get finished this afternoon, or you need more help from anybody, just get a copy of a product in your folder sometime this week. So you're not sitting here today until you get it done. But you've got from now until the end of the day, 3:15, I would like you, as your group, to talk about one thing that's coming up in this next week. It can be a lesson, it can be an activity, it can be any portion. And I want you to come up with some modifications on how will I tweak that. I just spit on the machine. How will I tweak that to meet the needs of ELL now that I've got some new knowledge of it? Does that make sense?
Can you tell us again how we figure out which one they were? Because when I went on into campus when you were doing each broke down each of them, the kids all over the place. Where's the composite?
Composite is called proficiency, PROF. Okay, does everybody have an understanding and what the expectation is? So by the end of today, slip something in your folder that's over here that just says, here's my activity and here's how I would tweak it. We're not talking a whole big blah, 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 blah. It might be I'm going to add the partner A, partner B vocabulary thing to it, or I'm going to try to make a dictionary, or I'm going to do the word wall, or whatever it is. I just want to see that you're thinking in terms of tweaking, which is not twerking. Okay. Now, before you leave, these are very self-explanatory. We have one for everybody. This is a flip chart, okay, and we have two. Let's go ahead and do both of them. This first one, not saying that we have any classroom management issues anywhere in this building, but the first one is tips and cheats on classroom management when you're using cooperative learning strategies, okay? So this is made by Kagan. These are just ways to kind of minimize classroom management issues while doing cooperative learning. And then the pink one is all different kinds of cooperative learning strategies to try. So these are ideas to try. This is troubleshooting before you try them to help minimize the management issues. Okay? I told Quinn, said, I don't really know, let's put these on the back, or we'll just ask one person from each table to come up and get some for their table. That'd probably be Quinn said, I really don't know where we need to start, and I feel like I gave her a very true statement, but I want to make sure I said, especially those people who have been here for more than 1 year. We are all very aware that we have to change activities, pretty much like a 1 per age. So if you're dealing with 10-year-olds, you've got their attention span for about 10 minutes. So it's kind of a non-negotiable. Assume here that you're changing activities multiple times in a lesson. And also, we're pretty much all on board in understanding that they've got to be talking to each other and listening to each other in their activities. So we're not going to be doing PDs on those things, because those, at this point, unless you're a brand new to Hiatt, those should be things that we're used to. But here are some cheat sheets for ideas. Get your handouts. Decide as a content area where you want to go. And you're done for an hour to do what you need to do. There's no need for us to meet back. Just make sure that you have an output either in the folder now, or the folder will be by the mailboxes if you want to add it at some other time.
You're not writing anything?
No, because we haven't really, when you put something, we haven't really gone to a new step. So if you hey guys, listen. If you feel like you have new learning, you can put it on your reflection sheet. But this really wasn't going towards one of our I can statements other than background knowledge. So you don't have to log it unless you feel like there's new learning you want to record.
Evaluation meetings afterwards, right?
Yes, 3:15 we will have the evaluation cycle meeting up here for those on eval. If you are having trouble with OneNote, Patty, I'm going to have to go ahead and go to math. Mark and Virginia are here to help with OneNote if you can't open your list.
Are we meeting in your room?